this is the On Dis T.O podcast featuring your hosts,
Julz. Hey!
And I am Simply Leah Tha MC. We are just bringing you conversation about topics that are happening in and around the city and actually across the world, and just conversation with our own opinions. And feel free to like, subscribe, and put your comments. So Julz, tell the people about yourself.
Hey! I'm Julz. This is 2022. We're bringing new vibes, new energy, new conversation. We're always welcoming your inputs, any topics you want to hear us talk about, chat about, shoot the shot, shoot the shit. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know.
Yeah, man, we're keeping it real.
So yeah, I'm very excited, to have conversations because I feel like our voices need to be heard. And we need to continue to empower other women to have conversations. So join us.
My goal with this is just to, like I said, just like Julz is saying, have conversations, hear that Black voice, the voice of people of color, more specifically women, being a woman myself. But, you never know, in the future we might have some Black men out here on the podcast with us, discussing some topics that are important to our community as well. Yeah, we got to big up our producer, Mickey Rich Productions, in the background. You might see her pop in, hopefully, sometime in the future. You might get to see a visual of Mickey Rich Productions.
And I'm sure you're going to be hearing her chat it up with us from time to time, especially when we get passionate. We like to throw her to the wolves.
Oh, yeah. She's a great conversationalist. She has great ideas.
Right now, I think the pandemic has really, really opened up our eyes to what government policy, structure, systems work and don't work, and how we continue to be oppressed, right?
Right.
And how disproportionate Black folks are in Canada, right? Well, in the U.S. too, because when we think about the pandemic, if you think about healthcare, right?
Absolutely.
Majority of folks who are working in healthcare are people of color, right? Folks who are catching COVID are people of color, right? And what resources are there for Black folks, even like mentally, emotionally, right? And when this whole garbage of, well, I shouldn't say garbage, because everybody's entitled to their opinions, and the government, when he implemented this policy around vaccines, and he realized, if you're going to mandate vaccines, and you mandate vaccines, and healthcare workers are and they're to go on strike, so it's like, how does the system work? What power? It just shows how governments exercise their power, right? Because he quickly drew that back and say, we're not going to mandate healthcare workers to get vaccinated, because he knew that he would have a big problem on his hands. For me, I am not anti-vax, I'm not pro-vax, I'm pro-choice. And I say that all the time. I believe people should have the choice to choose what they want to put inside of their bodies. And I'm not going to scrutinize anybody for choosing to do it or choosing not to do it, right? But we kind of see how governments work. And even with this whole Freedom Convoy thing that's going on, I don't know. Anyway,
this is a topic that, girl, we could talk about this for months on end, even after they go away. And remember, I said that, right?
They're gonna go away. They're absolutely gonna go away, 100%.
We're gonna see. So see, the trickery with that was, let me put plant the seed, get everybody going on it, riled up, right? The numbers that they're giving us as far as people, in agreement and disagreement, it's all crap. And it's usually based off of maybe 1,000 people that they've called in a certain area of the country, in certain areas. You're picking and choosing. And to me, it just seems like the people on the side of that is in the minority, but the media is making it seem like it's the opposite, and it really isn't. And we've seen this because of the trucker convoy, right? But the trickery was, let me put this messaging out here and then reel it back and then leave it to the companies to make this decision, right? So now they've put this on the companies. If, you know, put this in your policy so that we don't have to tell the people that it's really what we want to do, right? Because we need the people to vote us back in, right? So there's, and a lot of people aren't waking up or rising to the trickery. I never realized until COVID came how tricky Canadian politics is. I always thought Canadian politics was just a stupid thing.
Why the f you lying? Why you always lying?
So the truckers, let's go back to the truckers initially, because they were considered essential workers. They are bringing essential supplies to the citizens of Canada. We're just going to keep it to Canada. So they didn't have to have a vaccination. They could have gone in and out of the country. They could pretty much go anywhere. They don't have to have vaccination because they're essential workers. So now they've walked that back, and the truckers are like, well, why are you taking away my freedom of choice so I can have a job? And anybody who knows a trucker or have had any kind of conversation with somebody who's a trucker or done any research into what it takes to do that kind of work, it's not easy. These guys are their own boss, and they're hustling just like the rest of us. And to say, well, you're not going to be able to work unless you let me decide what you're going to do with your body, right? It's gone to another level, because we do need these guys to bring us food and supplies into the country, right? So this is the concept. So let's not get away from what the concept is. I understand that there have been other things done to try and steer us away from the actual point of this trucker convoy.
So I like that you said that, because when we think about it, the idea is what we've far strayed from the idea. Like we're past it, right? Yeah. And we saw that in Ottawa with the flags and all of these things, right? And the $14 million that was donated to their GoFundMe by those racist people. What are they? Who are they in the state?
Oh, the white nationalists.
Yeah. So like they've now, like, GoFundMe has frozen the funds, and they're no longer giving them the funds. And I think that's not unreasonable, because then you're funding racist ideas.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. That I agree with. Yeah.
So I think for me, I support, giving truckers the freedom to choose, just like I support giving anybody the freedom to choose what to put into their bodies, right? But now we're seeing a project or a protest that is supporting white supremacy, white privilege, white power. That's what I see, or what I feel, or what I hear when I hear Freedom Convoy, right? And it's, in a way, you kind of see white people exercising their power. I mean, come on, right?
How about that? Right.
Because if it was us out there protesting, they would have said we're mashing up the city, we're angry, and we need to go back to do what we're doing, get back to our job. Like, there would be so much scrutiny, right? And that's where I kind of like, what are we really fighting for here? Are we really fighting for our freedom to choose? Like, what is their argument at this point, in this moment?
So, from my understanding, that the argument is still the same. Those images, and I'm using the word images.
And they need to get on their platforms and
but they have been. So the organizers of the movement, from the onset of the movement, were saying that they do not welcome any white nationalist movement, no kind of racist organizations. This is what the movement is, and if you are not about this, whatever. We've also seen, let me just say, if this is not what you're here for, don't come. They've been very explicit with that. This is the organizers. Also, during the protests, I've seen a lot of, you're not seeing this in the news, and I'm calling names, CP24, CBC, CTV, all these stations that the government owns, right? None of them are showing the footage of the protesters who are seeing these people come in with their Confederate flags and, you know, with their rhetoric that has nothing to do with the convoy, telling them to leave. You're not seeing that in the media, right? So because the media is not showing that part, it's easy for people who don't necessarily have access or time to be scrolling through Twitter and Instagram to see that the protesters that are there strictly for what the protest was created for, stop the mandates. You're not seeing them, that they're running these people. They're like, you have no place here. Get out of here. Like I saw a video of a guy who tried to walk through with his Confederate flag, and it was the white people who looked and said, what are you doing here with this? That's not Canadian. That's not even part of our history. So why are you here with a Confederate flag? Confederacy has nothing to do with Canada, right? And he literally had to take his flag down and leave, and they didn't let him stop until he got in his car and he was gone.
Now he's going. Now he's gone. We called him out. He knows. He's gonna hold his head in shame now.
And that's just one image, right? That you see. You see the media when the convoy came to Toronto, when it passed through the 400 there. You know, CBC, of course, they're there, and you know, somebody catches them filming, not the road, filming the little crowd in the back sparsely, where you see like maybe 50 people, and they're saying, oh yeah, the trucker convoy has no weight here in Toronto. And somebody, a protester was like filming, look what they're doing. They're pointing, this is the protest here, and CBC is pointing this way when everybody's actually standing over here. And he actually did a view of what was really happening. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for feeling that way, because I am also not happy about, you know, white nationalists taking an opportunity. This is what they do. Everybody knows that white nationalists will find any opportunity to show up, right? And that's because they're not welcome. In general, they are not welcome. The only person who has, in the last, I'm going to say, maybe 20 years of my life, who was welcomed a white nationalist to the stage was Donald Trump. Honest to God.
He who shall not be named.
Who shall not be named?
We are
I'm
not
just saying,
giving
right?
that name no voice.
We'll leave him out. We'll leave him out of the conversation, especially when we're talking. You know, it's February. He's the last name we will be talking about during our
shall
month.
not be named.
Be named. Yeah.
When it comes to protesting, it's very tricky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And protesting takes a lot of planning and strategizing and things like that.
Yeah.
And when you have, you know, healthcare workers, I know I saw it on the news.
Girl back.
That they have to kind of like not share that they're healthcare workers in order to access work. You know, it kind of becomes it's a different story. You know what I mean? You need to block City Hall. You need to block the streets on City Hall. You need to. Yeah. But then again, a lot of hospitals are around in that area. So, right? And so it's kind of a little bit hard to kind of like structure a protest to be powerful and not kind of like take away access from that area, right? So it's kind of it's a touch and go. But I just want people to remember like the initial like reasons behind the protest, and that was just, you know, being able to access your job. Yeah, you know, and we definitely have different ideas around this whole convoy situation.
Of course, and that's amazing, right? This is what makes us so unique as a podcast. To sip on this T.O. You know, we don't. Our ideals don't always. Yeah, you might have coffee and me at tea, or I might have something else in my mug. You never know, depending on what time we're recording, right?
Does that really matter?
I'm exercising my freedom of choice to drink
freedom
what
of
I
choice,
want.
them. Yeah, that makes it too. Yes. Nice. This has been truly phenomenal conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's continue the conversation.
Absolutely. We will continue doing that. If you enjoyed the conversation today, make sure you put your comments below. Click that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Sip On Dis T.O podcast. I believe we're going to be giving you guys installments monthly, so we look forward to seeing you in March. Enjoy the rest of your Black History Month. But before we go, Julz, let everybody know where they can find us on social media.
So you can find us on Sip On Dis T.O.
My personal handle is Simply Leah Tha MC. The Leah is spelled Leah. Feel free to follow. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Instagram. I think I'm on Facebook too. Yeah, so hit me up there as well.
You can find me at Julz085 JUELZZ085.
And we will see you guys next month. Happy Black History Month.
Yeah. Bye.